Okay. I got to ask you about the now famous video that Mr. Bryan made in Satilla Shores that day. I'm directing your attention to page 16, lines 9 through 25, through page 17, lines 1 through 12. If the state has no objection, I'm simply going to ask you to read that portion of the transcript, beginning at line 16, line 9. Page 16, line 9.
You said page 16, line what?
Page 16, line 9, excerpt 5.
Pretty good understanding of it now. So I think if I'm recalling correctly, when you're on the side of the road, you were telling me you might have had another video of the same guy on your phone from a previous incident. And Bryan says no. I say, okay, I misunderstood that then. Bryan says, no, I thought those two videos on there and I must not have been recording. And I say, well, the first you do, you said stop at 19?
I'm sorry, continue to page 17, line 12.
Okay. Well, the first you do have two videos of the same incident today. Bryan says, well, one of y'all copied it somehow or another or something maybe. I say, okay. He says, I mean, exact same incident? I say, yeah, it's weird.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're turning the page. Okay.
Yes. What line do you want me to stop at on 17?
Start with so you've got. I think it's at the top of the page.
He was asking where to stop.
Oh, line 12.
Okay. Got like the very last two videos, photos, anything. One is a longer video that contains the same, and Mr. Bryan says they tried to crop it and send it the original Officer Minshew. I said, okay. And he said, tried to crop it and send it, and he couldn't do it, so I thought there was two of those. I thought I had started filming him before we got to the fork, before we got to the major intersection right there. I thought I had started filming there, but apparently I didn't. Apparently I didn't hit the button. I say, so you don't, from what I recall watching the video, it looks like it starts as you're like coming up this road, catching back up to them, like going back towards that intersection. Mr. Bryan says, yes. I say, okay, so yeah, like roughly though, you know, there's somewhere, seems like you start recording because Bryan says, probably, yeah. I say, coming up that road and watching, as you round the corner, you can see him running. Mr. Bryan says, mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. Now, you were asked a number of questions earlier about things that Mr. Bryan did and didn't say. Mr. Bryan did say that he'd heard stuff that's been happening in the neighborhood. That'd be page 19.
Yes.
All right. But at that time, you didn't follow up with him about that, did you?
No, not there because I don't remember if it was before or after, but I'd already asked if he knew Mr. Arbery, recognized him, had ever seen him before.
Fair enough. You didn't ask Mr. Bryan whether his family had been victims of theft and property crimes in Satilla Shores, did you?
No, not specifically.
Okay. You didn't ask whether Roddie Bryan had installed a home surveillance system?
No, I have no reason at the time.
I'm not questioning your judgment and your techniques. I'm just covering a few facts.
Yes, sir.
Almost done. You never asked Roddie Bryan about his night owl video?
His night owl video?
Yes,
no.
sir. Do you know how Roddie Bryan's cell phone wound up in Sergeant Leska's car?
No, I don't recall.
Do you know how many officers besides yourself were on the scene that day without functioning body cams or dashboard videos?
I don't.
Okay. And it's not your job to keep track of that, is it?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, I'm going to use the word interview, but you feel free to explain, okay? But your interview with Mr. Bryan, my word for it, on the scene is not recorded.
Correct.
Okay. I don't believe it's documented, is it?
It wasn't a very detailed, thorough interview. It was just really viewing the video and then getting him to agree to come back and sit down and speak with me.
Fair
But
enough.
yes,
Is there any way for you to say how many other brief or other undocumented statements might be out there that day?
no, I have no way of guessing.
Okay. So is it fair to say by the time you finish interviewing Mr. Bryan that evening, I think it's evening, isn't it?
Yes,
By the time you finish interviewing Mr. Bryan that evening, he has been back and forth through the events of that day several times with multiple police officers.
I don't know what other officers he went through it with, but I could say probably. I know we spoke with it briefly on scene about it, and then again at headquarters, so I would say at least like twice with me.
Okay. And you may have been privy to some of that information, but probably not all of it.
Yes.
Okay. Things that you didn't ask. A lot of time spent on that earlier. You didn't ask Roddie Bryan whether he was armed or unarmed at the time of the shooting in your interview. Am I correct?
Yes.
Would that be because you'd already covered that out on the scene?
Yes. So I thought. I don't know that I asked him that on the scene,
Okay.
but
All right. Well, from the circumstances, it seemed clear to you that he was unarmed.
yes.
You didn't ask Roddie Bryan about Matt Albenzi.
No.
Okay.
Wait, ask him about Matt Albenzi. What about Matt Albenzi?
Well, in terms of trying to understand why Mr. Arbery was running in the way that he did you ask him whether he and Mr. Albenzi had any contact?
Oh, no. No.
Okay. Did you ask him if he could see Mr. Albenzi?
No.
Okay. And of course, you didn't interview Mr. Albenzi. You don't know.
No, sir.
Okay. You didn't ask Roddie Bryan whether he called 911, did you?
I don't remember if I did.
Okay. And partly that would be because under Georgia law, Mr. Bryan had no legal
Objection,
obligation
Your
to do
Honor.
so.
Under Georgia law,
Should I rephrase?
Yeah, let's just rephrase it.
The subject of 9/11 never came up with Mr. Bryan, did it?
No, I don't think so.
You didn't perceive it to be pertinent to your investigation at that time?
No.
Okay. Is it fair to say that when you examined Mr. Bryan's truck, that you did not recover any prints or possible prints from either the front or the back of the truck?
No. Everything that I recovered was from the driver's side, aside from the unknown volleyball, soccer ball print on the back.
You did not recover any cotton fibers from the front or back of the pickup truck?
Just for clarification, you're saying like just the very, very front and the very back, excluding the sides?
The grill and the front bumper, the back bumper, and the tailgate.
Collected nothing from the front or the back.
Okay. And did the state even show you a picture of the front of the truck today?
I don't think I did, or I don't think I saw it. I don't remember there being one in there.
There's certainly no physical evidence to suggest that Mr. Bryan's vehicle made any contact on the front or the back or on the corners with Mr. Arbery.
I don't understand what you're. Can you
Okay.
rephrase that? You said it kind of like a
Oh,
statement.
okay. There are no fingerprints on either of the front corners of the truck.
None that I was aware of. None that I processed.
No cotton fibers on either corner of the front of the truck.
None that I was aware of. None that I processed.
No fingerprints or cotton fibers on either of the back corners of the truck.
No.
The prints that you recovered, or suspected prints, and the cotton fibers are all on the driver's side of the vehicle, behind or at the door on the driver's side.
Yes.
Okay. And that would be consistent with the testimony or the statement that Mr. Bryan gave you.
Yes.
All right. And technically, let me see if I understand the sequence of events. Y'all decide on the scene that you want to do a crime scene work on the truck, right?
I didn't make that call. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody made the call. Okay. But at the time that decision was made, whoever made it, you were down at the Public Safety Center, correct?
You lost me. So are you saying that they brought are you asking if they brought the crime scene truck to the scene in Satilla Shores?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not helping you here. My
No.
apologies. You asked Mr. Bryan to
Yes.
bring his pickup truck from Satilla Shores down to the Glynn County Police Department Public Safety Center,
Yes.
just on the other side of the interstate, right?
Yes.
You asked Mr. Bryan to do that.
Well, no, I just asked him to come for an interview. He happened to drive the truck, and he told me about, the dings and the smudges while I was there interviewing him.
Okay. And this is several hours after the shooting at this point, is it not?
Yes.
This is after Mr. Bryan's been sent home, to your knowledge.
That I processed his truck?
No, that you, by the time you requested him to come downtown, he's already gone home with his truck.
I don't think his truck was still on scene. I think from the scene, he came from the scene to the PD for the interview and for the truck to be processed.
Okay, so you don't know whether he went home with it first?
I don't.
Okay. Is it fair to say that Glynn County has no shortage of car washes?
I don't know.
Did you observe any effort on the part of Mr. Roddie Bryan to tamper with or destroy the evidence in this case?
No.
Mr. Bryan wanted you to have the evidence.
Objection, speculation.
Is there anything more, thank you, Your Honor. Is there anything more that Mr. Bryan could have done to help you with your investigation?
I don't know.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
No further questions.